Power grid has been dark for 72 hours. Your neighborhood watch group disbanded after the second night of screaming, and the police stopped answering calls yesterday. That expensive security camera you installed, the one that gave you such peace of mind? It's a dead piece of plastic hanging by a wire. The alarm system is silent. All your digital defenses are gone. You're left with what you can touch, what you can build. You're down to duct tape and spite. But here's the thing. You don't need to wait for the grid to fail. Whether it's complete social breakdown or just a Tuesday night break-in happening in your neighborhood this week, the tactics are identical. The first thing you need to understand is that your front door, the primary barrier between your family and the chaos, is a lie. It's held in place by tiny half-inch screws biting into a piece of decorative wood trim. A single well-placed kick doesn't hit the lock. It shatters the frame itself, blowing the door wide open. Here's what you're going to do about it, right now. Your first objective is the front door. Phase 1 of your 30-minute fortress. Find the metal strike plate where the lock's bolt enters the frame. Unscrew the pathetic little screws holding it in. Find the longest screws you have, ideally 3 or 4 inch deck screws. Drive them into those same holes. You're not just screwing into the flimsy door trim anymore. You're sinking those screws deep into the structural 2x4 stud that frames the entire wall. Transfer the force of that kick from trim wood to the wall's literal skeleton. When they kick the door now, the house kicks back. Do the same for every screw on every hinge. Don't just fortify the lock. Fortify the entire door structure. It costs almost nothing and takes 5 minutes. What if you can't find a drill or the batteries are dead? You don't drill, you barricade. The physics are brutal. Find a sturdy chair and jam its back directly under the doorknob. The angle is critical. Any force applied to the outside of the door is driven down, through the chair, and into the floor. The floor becomes part of your defense. No chair. Look at everything around you as a tool. A closet dowel rod, a metal broomstick, a heavy-duty mop handle, even that ridiculous decorative ore your uncle gave you for Christmas. Wedge it at an angle between the door and the floor. You're creating a brace that redirects kinetic energy. You're making opening a door a structural problem for anyone on the other side. Phase 2. The vast, vulnerable sheets of glass that line your ground floor, your windows. Grab a roll of duct tape and create a large grid pattern across the entire pane of glass, from edge to edge. When a rock or a boot hits it, the glass will still shatter, but the tape holds the shards in place. This does 2 critical things. It muffles the sound of breaking glass, which is a dinner bell for opportunists, and it keeps the entry point a jagged, dangerous mess instead of a clean opening. Then, move the heaviest objects you own in front of those windows. The bookshelf, the treadmill, that antique dresser. Create a barrier that costs them noise, time, and effort. Make your home look like a harder target than your neighbors. Phase 3. The garage. Your garage. 6 seconds with a coat hanger and they're inside. A wire hanger snaked through the top of the door hooks the red emergency release cord. Your tools, your car, your door into the house. Gone. The fix? Use heavy-duty zip ties to secure the release latch to the trolley assembly. This prevents a hook from pulling it, but you can still break the ties in a real emergency. You've just neutralized a massive vulnerability for pocket change. This eliminates one of the most common bypasses criminals rely on. Don't stop there. Unplug the automatic opener motor. No power means no easy entry, no signal hacking. They're faced with manually lifting a heavy, awkward door. It's slow, it's loud, and it attracts exactly the kind of attention they're trying to avoid. For the final lockdown, use your vehicle as the ultimate barrier. Park your car right up against the inside of the garage door. You've weaponized 2 tons of steel into a deadbolt. They can't lift the door, and they certainly can't push a vehicle out of the way. They will look at that obstacle and immediately calculate that the time and noise required are not worth the risk. Even with the ground floor secured and the garage locked down, there is one massive glass entry point we haven't touched, and it is the single biggest weakness in modern residential architecture. That weakness is the sliding glass door, a beautiful architectural joke that acts as a pre-installed entry point, because most of them can be lifted right off their tracks with a screwdriver. Forget the flimsy factory lock. First, jam a cut-to-fit 2x4 into the bottom track. It's a crude, physical denial, a blunt statement that this path is closed, but they can still lift the door, so you pin it. Drill a hole through the overlapping top frames of both doors and drop a heavy bolt or nail through it. The door is locked to the frame itself. It's not going anywhere. Finally, attack their psychology. Smear a thick layer of grease or mayonnaise on the exterior handle. Their hand slips, they're disgusted, and their grip fails. It plants a seed of doubt about what kind of animal lives inside, a question they don't want the answer to. Visual deception is only half the battle. To truly haunt their decision-making, we need to hack their ears and their instincts next. Silence is your enemy in a grid-down scenario, so leave a radio on, specifically talk radio, because voices suggest people, and people suggest witnesses, which implies a level of risk most looters aren't willing to take. It's not just noise, it's the simulation of presence. Combine this with inexpensive light timers set to randomize. A light clicks on in an upstairs bedroom, stays on for 40 minutes, then shuts off as a downstairs lamp flickers to life. To an observer casing your street, your home appears alive, unpredictable. They can't establish a pattern, which means they can't establish a safe window for entry. You don't need a dog. You need the illusion of a dog. A big steel water bowl, a shredded rope toy, a beware of dog sign. To a raider, a dog represents chaos, noise, and an unpredictable fight. It's a variable they can't control, and they hate that. Then the big boots trick. Leave a pair of large, muddy, steel-toed work boots by the front door. This isn't just a sign that someone's home. It implies a specific type of person is home. Someone big, someone who does physical labor, someone who is not an easy target. The boots suggest a large working-class person who likely owns tools that double as weapons. Let's move outside to phase 4, the perimeter. This is where you make the approach itself a challenge. Forget expensive electronics for a moment and think primal. Lay down a 3-foot wide path of deep, coarse gravel around the foundation of your house. It's a poor man's alarm system. No one, no matter how skilled, can cross it silently. Every footstep produces an undeniable grating crunch that will echo in the quiet of the night, announcing their presence long before they reach a door or window. Right below those vulnerable entry points, you plant your biological barrier. Thick, thorny rose bushes or pyracantha. It's not just a deterrent, it's a consequence. Attempting to pry open a window means contending with hundreds of sharp thorns that tear at clothing and skin, causing pain, creating noise, and most importantly, collecting forensic evidence. A shred of fabric, a drop of blood. That's a level of risk that sends most opportunists walking. The best security system isn't something you buy, it's something you think through. A garden hose strategically placed, a rake left in a darkened pathway. Even a child's toy can send an intruder stumbling, breaking their focus and creating a loud, unexpected disturbance. Couple this with a few motion-activated floodlights covering the darkest corners of your property. The sudden, blinding wash of light is disorienting and exposes them completely. But we plan for failure. What if they get past the noise, the lights, and the thorns? This brings us to phase 5, the interior fallback, your safe room. This isn't a steel-lined panic room from a movie. It's a designated, reinforced room within your home. The best choice is often an upstairs bedroom, preferably one with a solid core door. A hollow door is useless. You're going to reinforce this door just as you did your main entry points. Replace the short hinge screws with 3-inch hardened steel screws that bite deep into the door frame stud. Install a heavy-duty deadbolt. Have a door security bar ready to brace under the knob. This room becomes your final stronghold, the place where you make your last stand if the outer defenses are breached. This is where the fight truly comes to you, and you must be prepared. Inside this safe room, you have your essentials staged and ready. Not a chaotic pile, but an organized kit. A powerful flashlight, because you own the darkness. Bottles of water and high-energy snacks, because you don't know how long you'll be in there. A charged phone or power bank, your link to information or help. A first aid kit, and your chosen tool for self-defense, ready and accessible. What you don't keep in here, comfort items that tempt you to leave, like your laptop, your favorite books, or anything that makes you think, I'll just grab this one thing. Once you're in, you stay in until the threat is gone. The most important tool isn't an object, it's a plan. This plan is triggered by a single non-negotiable code word. Something mundane that won't be said by accident, like pineapple or Tuesday. When that word is spoken by you or your spouse, there are no questions. There is no hesitation. The children don't ask why. Everyone immediately and silently moves to the safe room. You must drill this. Practice it until the movement is muscle memory. This isn't a game, it's a life-saving protocol. The code word signifies that the threat is inside the wire, that the layers have been peeled back, and that this room is the only safe place left. Your family's survival depends on the discipline of this single, silent action. If you hear them at the safe room door, you do not engage unless absolutely necessary. You call for help if possible. You make noise to alert neighbors. You prepare for the worst, but you do not open that door. Let them take the TV. Let them take the jewelry. Things can be replaced. You cannot. Ultimately, what you're doing is manipulating a criminal's core motivation, risk versus reward. Every raider or looter operates on a cost-benefit analysis. They live by the 3-minute rule. If they can't get in and get what they want in under 3 minutes, the risk of getting caught skyrockets. They see your house. They hear the radio. They see the lights on a timer. They think about the crunching gravel, the painful thorns under the windows, the reinforced doors with 3-inch screws sunk into structural studs. They weigh all of that risk against the potential reward. Then they look next door at the dark, silent house. No gravel, no thorns, no radio, no lights. It's an easy choice. You haven't built an impenetrable fortress. You don't need to. You've made your home a harder target than your neighbors. You've made the math work in your favor. Security isn't about a single perfect lock. It's about creating a series of layered obstacles that frustrate, delay, and ultimately deter an attacker. When you stack enough of these small obstacles, the math stops working in their favor, and they will move on to an easier target, leaving you and your family safe behind the layers you built with your own hands. Let's go back to where we started. 72 hours in. The grid is still down. Your neighborhood is still chaos, but your door held. The 3-inch screws you installed transferred every kick into the wall's skeleton. The gravel gave you warning. The thorns under your windows collected DNA evidence from the guy who tried anyway. The talk radio made them think twice. Your family heard the code word, moved to the safe room without question, and you waited them out. The house next door, their front door is a splintered mess. Hinges torn from decorative trim. They're picking through what's left of their lives. You made a choice. You spent 30 minutes. You did the work. The difference between your house and theirs wasn't luck. It was physics, psychology, and preparation.